Gabriel, we're here to discuss the Central Bank's second quarterly bulletin of 2016. What are the key developments since the last bulletin?
Well, I think the main difference in the forecast is due to the fact that we had a very strong outcome in 2015. As a result, growth is revised upwards slightly, and inflation is likely to be somewhat lower than we expected last time, mainly reflecting developments in the exchange rate and the oil price.
And growth in 2015 was 7.8%. Is this unprecedented?
No, it's not quite unprecedented. We have seen years in the past where growth has been as high or even higher, but it is very rare. By historical standards, for example, this is the strongest growth in the economy since the year 2000. Internationally, it's about 5 times higher than the euro area average, and it means that Ireland is having one of the fastest growth rates in the world economy.
Can this be sustained?
No, we don't believe that growth can continue at this particular pace. Growth in 2015 benefited from a number of very favourable tailwinds whose effects are likely to be somewhat weaker in 2016, 2017. The tailwinds, for example, were due to a very favourable exchange rate, the fall in the oil price, and the fact that there was quite a bit of pent-up demand in the economy. Still, we are likely to see a growth rate of 5% in 2016. This is a very strong growth performance, certainly by international standards. The growth rate for the euro area at the same period is likely to be 1.4%, so it's very strong internationally.
And are there any potential issues that could derail this growth, this recovery?
Yeah, well, the forecast is basically our judgment, our best judgment of what will happen given the information we have at the moment. So it's a scenario, the most likely scenario. But like all forecasts, it's subject to uncertainty. And at this moment in time, the uncertainties facing the economy are particularly high. And these uncertainties are mainly stemming from the international environment. So we have a number of risks facing the economy. First of all, we have concerns regarding emerging market economies, in particular China and a possible slowdown there. Secondly, we have observed very high volatility in financial markets recently, and we could not rule out a very adverse correction in the stock markets and other financial markets. And of course, there is also the issue of Brexit. So all of these elements mean that the risk to our forecast is very much on the downside.
John, we're here to talk about the Irish economy and the prospects for this year and next. What is the current outlook?
The outlook for the economy continues to be favourable. Following GDP growth of 7.75% last year, our latest forecast is for the economy to grow by around 5% this year and by just over 4% next year. Our forecast for 2016 is slightly higher than the forecast that we published at the time of the last bulletin, although this largely reflects the fact that there's some carryover from the exceptionally strong growth that we saw last year. For 2017, our expectation is that the economy will grow by much the same rate as we forecast last time.
Why do you expect such strong growth? What's driving it?
The main emphasis to growth is expected to continue to come from the domestic side of the economy in the form of solid growth in consumer spending and investment. We think that the main driver of this growth will be the continuing recovery in employment and incomes. So on that basis, we expect underlying domestic demand to grow by around 4% this year and by just over 3% next year. While we expect export growth to be strong in 2016 and 2017, the overall effect of this on GDP growth will be offset largely by continued strong growth in imports. So we don't expect much of a net external contribution. So we think that growth will largely be driven by what happens on the domestic side of the economy.
Luca, we're going to talk about the European economy. What is the current outlook?
We expect a kind of a slow and timid recovery, and we expect potential growth to remain below pre-crisis level for some time. Additionally, most of the risks are at the moment on the downside, and the measure of the realization of these risks will be key for the outlook ahead.
And what are these downside risks?
The first risk comes from external demand. In particular, demand could be lower from emerging economies, and the economic outlook of China is of particular concern. Second, there are a set of risks which are linked to tighter monetary conditions in the rest of the world, in particular in dollarized economies. And finally, there is a set of what we would call geopolitical tensions.
The European Central Bank has recently announced additional stimulus measures. If these aren't successful, what is the potential impact for Ireland?
Well, on the 10th of March, the ECB has announced a set of measures. These include a lower interest rate, they include 4 new targeted long-term refinancing operations, and they include modification to the asset purchase program. The idea and the hope is that these operations give us higher growth and inflation closer to the target. At the moment, we have to say it's very, very soon. But we are monitoring closely the economic developments to see the impact of these measures on the real economy and on inflation.
Luca, as a result of this stimulus package, what is the expectation for price inflation across the Eurozone?
So let's say first that the expectation for inflation have been revised downwards from December 2015, and now we expect 0.1% inflation in 2016. The very recent data suggest even lower figures. On the other hand, the ECB has been acting in the meanwhile, so at the moment it's very, very difficult to say what the overall impact will be. But we expect overall a low inflation in 2016 and picking up afterwards.